Dispatch didn't quite grab me when it was revealed during the Game Awards last year. It was cool to see such a colourful cast of some really big names, and the art direction looked as wonderful then as it does now, but I suppose I had my eye on other things at the time. Even as the first 2 episodes dropped, I was pretty out of the loop, but the buzz was impressive from day one. It took me all the way up until the remaining 2 episodes were just around the corner for me to lean in and listen a little closer. And when I heard it hadn't taken even the tiniest nosedive in the later episodes, I was interested. Not to mention that a solid portion of the handful of negative reviews it had received were mostly just upset about its episodic nature and would have been happier had it released all at once. Things were looking great, and since they stayed great, I found myself pretty excited to jump in. And I was right to be. We have Ad Hoc Studio to thank for this game, and if I've got it right, we have them to thank for some of the best Telltale games we got back when that name was in lights. I'm talking The Walking Dead, The Wolf Among Us, and Tales from the Borderlands. This IP was in better hands than I could have ever known, and they really delivered. I think it takes a heap of talent to direct a group of wildly differing industry experience levels and have them all sounding like they belong. Yeah, I know I'm listening to Jacksepticeye voice Henry Cavill if he was a dwarf. And Irish, but they managed to slot him right next to the likes of Aaron Paul and even Jeffrey Wright. No shade at all to Aaron Paul, but Jeffrey Wright is like the real double dog deal. Now, it's easy to tell they weren't all in the booth together or dressed up all pretty in mocap suits, but man, if they didn't do a good job bringing these characters to life. Dispatch has you piloting Robert Robertson, the Mecha Man, or he was until his mech suit was destroyed in a battle with his nemesis. Now instead of being the hero, Robert has to become a little voice in the ears of, well, they're not really heroes either. The Z-Team is all you've got, and it's your job to turn them into the heroes you imagined you were getting. You'll get to try your hand at this by navigating office relationships and dodging HR violations in a superhero universe that parodies the parody Invincible kind of already is. I mean, Omni-Man is right here, but he's kind of perpetually in the I think I miss my wife mood. There's also V from Arcane, which is a comparison I've heard people are mad about for some reason. There's Karlach, Clayface, Man-Bat, Zoe Kravitz, not really, but I wish. Old Head A-Train or Black Einstein, the game said that one first. PewDiePie as Johnny Storm, and I've run out of stupid comparisons to make. Well, wait, no, Doctor Doom, and I already said Irish dwarf Henry Cavill, but that's gotta be comic accurate Wolverine, right? Also, I'd like to reveal that I was the body reference for Toxic. Okay, we're done. In all seriousness, these characters may not look like the most unique superheroes out there, but I can assure you they have the most well-developed personalities out of any superhero media I've ever consumed. If I could only give the game its flowers for one thing, it would be that. It took all of an episode or 2 for me to fall in love with half of the cast, and I really found myself caring about what happens to each and every one of them. Yes, some characters have leagues more screen time than others, but sometimes a one-liner is all it takes for me to give a shit. I think that's due in part to how solidly in place and realistic to the setting all of the dialogue was. It is snappy, it is smart, I even exhaled unusually heavily through my nose a few times. I love when dialogue is good, and I hate it even more when it's bad. This was a real treat to listen to, and it was definitely fun to influence it when they let me. So player choice is where I think Dispatch gets a mite controversial. It is a Telltale game through and through. That means there are real choices to make, but regrettably, there are also a fair share of fake ones too. When I use the word fake, I mean the choice doesn't influence anything meaningful in the narrative. It may very well provide a ton of flavor to your playthrough, and that may very well be enough. I can tell you, it was for me. They make it pretty clear when a choice is going to have real impact on your experience, but if you're worried, just treat everything like it will and you'll still have a fantastic time. This is a linear experience at heart. It has a trajectory that stays much the same from beginning to end, with little offshoots to make the game feel like your own. I get that some people were hoping for more, but I feel like this approach was the only way Ad Hoc could bring these characters to life as they did. Just don't expect to be able to replay this game a million times. While we're semi-criticizing the game, I think its narrative is one of those decent plot told great kind of stories. If you isolate it, it's not all that impressive, with twists you might even see coming, but it is told so well that you'll be along for the ride either way. It is directed fantastically too. Some great virtual cinematography here, some awesome fight scenes, amazing music choice, bloody impressive animation. Damn, this is kinda Invincible with better animation and less filler. I made it sound like I just discovered that, but it was almost certainly the first thing I said about this game. I love Invincible, I promise. No hate, a little bit of hate, some hate. It's love-hate. I do think the comparison says a lot about this game though. To be able to, at least in my mind, match up to and even surpass such a phenomenon of an animated TV show is really impressive for Ad Hoc's debut title. Now, just before, I said this was a Telltale game through and through, but I'm mistaken because there is actually some real gameplay here. Not only is this an interactive TV show, it's an actual game, in the vein of This Is the Police if you played that one. As a dispatcher, it's your job to fight crime by helping your little group of misfits answer the call. It's not so simple as just sending whoever to fix or fight whatever. Each hero has their strengths, weaknesses, and even some unique abilities, all of which you can influence as they level up. The explicit requirement for each call isn't revealed to you, so you'll have to use the language and its description to gauge which hero has the right skills for the job. Not only that, but sometimes their personalities or unique powers can save you when nothing else can. Sometimes there is a perfect hero for the job, regardless of their stat distribution. You'll also be battling time, as these calls don't last forever and your heroes aren't always ready to go, whether they're busy with another call or resting after completing one. You'll need to be a little careful with your choices. Luckily, you're not totally down and out. Sometimes Robert will need to hack his way into things with a good but sometimes needlessly frustrating minigame. I actually didn't expect to enjoy being a dispatcher as much as I did. It was a welcome distraction in addition to the narrative. It's even integrated pretty well. The characters, of course, have their quips and petty fights, but a few select developments in the story change the gameplay meaningfully. For example, and this isn't a spoiler, in one of the earlier episodes, because you have a team of assholes that don't care about helping people, they're not super great at helping people, so you're forced to cut whoever performs the worst in the coming days to scare them. And because they are actual murderers, thieves, and apparently cyberbullies, they of course think the best way to ensure that they don't get cut is to make sure someone else does. This translates to your gameplay, as sending them out on calls together will have them sabotaging each other and making it about 1 billion times harder for you to not let the city burn to the ground. I was glad to see they didn't neglect the gameplay as a tack on to make sure it still qualifies as a video game at the end of the day. With that in mind, I wish the impact extended outwards a little more. I don't think your success or failure has that significant of an impact. So as fun as it was, it felt a little pointless at times. It is weaved into the bigger bones of the narrative pretty well, and for the better part of the game, it feels like it matters. To be clear, sometimes it does. I just wish there was more of that. I think this can be a learning moment for Ad Hoc though. I mean, if they tighten the formula up just a little for what I hope becomes a second season of Dispatch, it truly could be something special, and it kind of already is. It's pretty clear, but I'll say it anyway. I really recommend this one. I think it's more worth it than ever. Now that all of the episodes are out and we know it stays the course, I can't wait to see what this studio does next. Whether it's the long, super long awaited The Wolf Among Us 2, or maybe something in the world of Dispatch, I'm all ears. Thanks!